This Walkie Talkie episode is supported by Squarespace. Using the links in the description of this video is a simple way to support Walkie Talkie and keep this series going.
Controversially, I don't think talent really exists. I don't want to be a photographer that just does one thing for the whole of their career, because it's kind of boring. I'd also say Martin Parr has been a really good mentor to me, and he's made me feel, I don't know, special.
All right, we're back to the episode of Walkie Talkie. Today we have the one and only Matt Stuart. Matt.
Hey man, how you doing, Paulie?
Good, how are you?
I'm great, really good. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too. For those who don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, so my name's Matt Stuart. I've been photographing on the streets for about 29 years. I fell in love with it after being introduced to Henri Cartier-Bresson and Robert Frank books. And that was that. I guess that's sort of a lot of people's way in. I've been pretty obsessively doing it now for, a long time. Still love it. I have my ups and downs, but today is an up, especially seeing you. So I'm keen to go and get some shots.
Cool. Where are we?
We're in Amsterdam, and this is the museum plane, where all the great museums are. You've got Van Gogh, Rijksmuseum, and it's where all the good art is. So we're starting where the good art is, and we're going to walk into the center.
Cool. Let's go.
Cool.
How long have you been in Amsterdam now?
So we moved here in 2020 in March, which was just when COVID kicked in. And so, I've been here for almost 5 years now.
Was the pandemic impetus for the move, or was it just something you already had planned to do?
No, the impetus for the move was actually Brexit. And I said, if this stupid thing happens, we're going to move. My partner, who is Dutch, she was like, okay, well, why don't we move to the Netherlands? And then it happened in 2016, and it took us 4 years to actually get out here. Yeah, basically Brexit and Boris Johnson, two, big dicks. So that's why we left. I do prefer London for street photography, and so I've totally had to change my approach to how I photograph in the Netherlands. It's far quieter. So I tend to sort of drive to places and spend days in places and then drive home. Whereas in London, I would just roll out my door and find myself in the West End in central London and go shoot every day. So it's slightly different here. I've slowed down a bit. I also had to come up with new ideas and new ways of shooting, and during that year or two period, it was very difficult to photograph people on the streets. So I started photographing, buildings and becoming an architectural photographer. I don't want to be a photographer that just does one thing for the whole of their career, because it's kind of boring.
30 years in. I feel like most people don't get to that longevity of a street photography career. What does it feel like?
It feels good. It feels good. I tell you one thing though, you do slow down. You realize that street photography is probably a young guy's game. It's reactions, it's getting the quick shot. And when I was younger, I do remember feeling almost like a fly, real fast, really in your head, and seeing, you could see things move really slowly, even if they were fast. And now everything is fast. So I miss a bit more, but I still love it. And it's interesting to see people come and go, and the people that you thought were going to be great left the scene, and people you thought were going to be in and outers, they're still doing it and they're really good. And it's also been really refreshing to see how many more women are doing street photography. And that's a big change, because when I started out doing it, there weren't that many women doing it. In a lot of cases, a very different perspective, which is needed, not just this sort of kind of macho, in your face stuff.
So you talked about it being a young man's game and
young person's game.
Young
person, Paulie.
Young person's game. And maybe that's something that gets kind of harder as the longer you're in it. What's easier now that you've been in it for so long?
The actual photographing of people, I'm so used to it. And, people say, oh, you must get in trouble the whole time and blah, blah. And what's it like to have people shout at you? I don't think I've been shouted at or screamed at or had trouble for about 20 years. The first 10 years were tough. But you just get to really know the camera, you get to know how to move, you get to work out who to photograph and who not to photograph. So I would say my judgment is good. And that's really improved throughout the years. Yeah, when I was younger, I'd get into all sorts of scrapes, but not so much nowadays.
That just comes with time?
Yeah,
or like, is there anything that happened that made you kind of realize?
Just an understanding of what's worth photographing, whether it's going to be a good photograph. I think when you start out, you think everything's going to be a good photograph, and 9 times out of 10 it isn't. And I guess as you get older, you become more discerning, and you understand what's going to be a good photograph and what's not going to be a good photograph, and what's worth bothering about, what's worth the risk. You know, I often go out with students and sort of show them that you can be less than a meter away from someone and photograph them, and it'd be okay, as long as you approach it in the right way and don't be a dick. I've learned a lot about people. I think one of the things with street photography is you do feel people, you empathize, and you also have to judge a lot of things in the moment. You know, should I take this picture? Should I not take this picture? Is this person okay? Is this person upset? What I really like is that you learn how to make very quick judgments in the moment, and each moment is unique. So you have no formula to this. You have to be very quick thinking and understanding and empathize in the moment. And that has taught me so much just in life, you know, not just photography. I don't know. I mean, I think one of the things about street photography, as you know, most people probably know, is that it's a time game. It's how much time you put into it. If you're out there looking, you're more likely to get amazing shots. It's not like, oh, you're talented, go out the door, you're going to come back with 20 great pictures. No, sorry, my friend. It's time. You need to put in the time. If you don't put in the time, you're not going to come back with great pictures. And I think a lot of people get disheartened with the amount of time it takes. But I think that's the wrong attitude. I think realistically, you have to go out there and expect not to get anything. You need to think about the health benefits. You need to think about 20,000 steps a day, how great that is for you. You've got to think about your mental health and how good it is just to be out in the world looking at people. The picture is a bonus. Like, you get a good picture, it's a bonus. The more you're out there, the more likely you are to get a good picture. Yeah, Gary Player, the more I practice, the luckier I get. He was a golfer.
What's the mix of effort and talent? Because like obviously some people are more talented than others. How would you define talent in photography, in street photography?
Controversially, I don't think talent really exists. I think hard work is the most important thing. And then the more you work, the more likely you are to be talented. But usually talented people, that word doesn't exist, like to hide behind the word talent. That means that other people can't attain it, but secretly it's hard work. So you just got to go out. I mean, like, you look at Kudelka, for instance, like in the 70s, 80s, he was just out. He was living rough. He was photographing every day. To look at the 10,000 hour rule, he would have done that 2 or 3 years. He was just out photographing. With the amount of time that he spent, he became very good. And I mean, you look at people like, I'm sure, like, Daniel Arnold, like, he'd just roll out of his house and go and shoot in New York. He does it most days. It's just the more you do it, the better you become at it. Like, duh. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was starting out, I really would photograph everything. I would just, and I'd shoot 10 rolls a day, every day. And half the time, I was just happy that it was a sunny day, It's like, I'm out, take pictures. And kind of would get into this almost like mania of just loving the pressing of the button. Yeah, I just roll through film like it was digital. Took so many bad pictures. But you learn from all those bad pictures. And what's funny is actually when you go back and look at all of those bad pictures, you sometimes find some good ones as well. Nowadays, I take less pictures, but I think I probably take better pictures.
You had briefly mentioned that like part of doing this for a long time is getting to know your camera.
Yeah.
So what camera do you shoot with? What camera are you shooting with today?
Yeah, so today I'm shooting with an M10P, Leica M10P. It's a digital camera. I stopped shooting film in 2016 when I finished my book, which was all shot on film. And so since then I've been using digital mainly for financial reasons. I worked out at some point that I was spending like 25 to 30,000 on film a year, which is dumb. For my personality type and the way, I'm kind of hyper, digital's better. If I was a millionaire, I would shoot film because I prefer the whole process, and I love looking through the loop and being surprised and all that stuff. But yeah, got to bring home the bacon, so I can't shoot film anymore.
Your dad had an impact on your photography, right?
Yeah, he did. So my dad was a graphic designer. Like, I remember when we were growing up, he would come home and show us new ideas that he had and new logos that were clever or witty and see what we think. And so we were always brought up in a creative environment. I wasn't particularly good at school. I got into skateboarding and he encouraged that. Unlike maybe, I don't know, a parent who was a doctor who would be freaking out. He was like, okay, kids found a creative like niche that he's into and we should support him on that front. Because he was much the same. He went to Tate Britain. He bought me a book on Robert Frank, like a photo posh, and an aperture book on Henri Cartier-Bresson. And at the time I was answering customer complaints. Terrible job. But I did learn how to talk to angry people. Put that in my pocket. And then I would just be answering these telephone calls, looking at these books, like in awe, especially Cartier-Bresson, like a best of Henri Cartier-Bresson book is kind of like insane.
How old were you around this time?
This is when I was 23. And then I got completely obsessed. I've been completely obsessed my whole life by things. Like if I get obsessed, it's like, oh dear. I blame Gary Winogrand for the end of my first marriage. I got obsessed by Gary Winogrand. Just would go home and look at that book. You know, figments from the real world, like blah, 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 blah. I decided I had to become a photographer, And my dad was like, look, you could just be a like amateur photographer. It could be your hobby. I was like, nope, going to be a photographer. And I got a job working with a photographer in London, carried his bags around and assisted him. He was a busy commercial photographer. I did that for 3 years. I got paid £6,000 a year, which is not a lot. It's £25 a day. But at the end of the 3-year period, I had a portfolio of black and white street photography, some that I'd made on the underground when I was delivering his jobs, some in museums when it was a rainy day, and some on the streets. And I made 3 or 4 postcards and sent out like 1,000 of them. So I sent to all different companies like, you know, hi, this is what I do, this is what I do. I got about 4 phone calls, 3 requests to see a portfolio, and 1 job. But the 1 job was for a big annual report. It paid 10 grand. So that was it. And then I didn't really look back. I became a professional photographer, but I also retained the obsession for street. When I wasn't doing commercial work, I was just out photographing the whole time. For the last 26 years, I've been commercial photographer, professional photographer, whatever that is, and you know, street photographer and blah, blah, blah. I have learned that you need to have quite a lot of different segments to yourself, you know. I teach, I do my own practice, I do every now and then I do commercial work, sell prints occasionally. You have to kind of diversify a little bit, especially nowadays. I mean, there's so many photographers out there. I don't think you make money from pure street photography because it's so difficult, and so you can't say, oh, like, how long is a piece of string? Like, go and get us an amazing photograph. And then you have problems with, you know, the person in the photograph or blah, 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 because you need model release and blah, blah, blah. But commercially, I've definitely had a lot of people approach me to photograph stuff that looks like street photography. And through doing that, I have made a reasonable living, but it's very unpredictable. I mean, I've had crazy years where like I made a lot of money, and then like crazy years where I made no money. So it's very anaerobic. It's very up and down. Luckily, my partner has a stable job, which means that we're covered when I'm not covering. So we're heading down to Dam Square and like the central bit here. I come and photograph around here quite a lot. There's actually a cut through here that we could take. It's like a cool, like kind of shopping street. This is where Matt takes Paul down a dark alley. Moi. So this is Calverstraat, and this is like the shopping street. And this is like, with the good light, this is great.
How often are you shooting these days?
I take my camera out once or twice a week. Whether I end up taking pictures is a whole different story. I just got back from Australia and I spent 2 weeks there, and I was given an assignment by Leica to use a new camera, and I photographed a lot, and I loved it. And it was kind of nice to have a reason, you know, like go and shoot, go and shoot, go and shoot. With the street photography, I don't just roll out my door and hope for pictures anymore, because it does, for me, it takes too long. So I like to give myself projects to work to. So I had a project last year in LA that I was working on called Sunrise on Sunset, which was me getting up at the crack of dawn to go and walk on Sunset Boulevard and see who I would bump into. And that kind of constraint meant that I could focus on, getting a certain type of picture. Giving myself a constraint is really important these days.
Do you feel like being out here and having repetition on the street gives you momentum going into those projects?
I find just walking out and looking at people and, seeing how they are, how they hold themselves, how they interact with one another is super important. So just the watching is important, not necessarily actually the photography, but the going out and feeling human is important. I mean, you can't just like roll out of your door and expect to do the splits. So you do need to kind of warm up and take some photographs. Someone screaming. Being a street photographer, you go out and you see so much stuff. Like, I don't really get adrenaline much anymore. Like, I'm pretty calm throughout all sorts of situations and scenarios. I'm calm because you need to be calm as a photographer when you're confronted by things. And I think that's really important. I mean, half the time when I was growing up, when I was starting out, I look at my pictures and 9 times out of 10, they would be out of focus because I was freaking out. Do you want to see something? If you throw your hat, they think it's a hawk. So there's this guy, Hans Eichelboom. Have you heard of Hans Eichelboom? He's kind of amazing. He does series of pictures of people wearing the same clothes, and then he puts them into grids. And this is one of the places that he hangs out to get these pictures. Hans Eichelboom, you should actually Google him because he's insane. He's a big, Martin Parr is a big fan of his work. Martin says he's like the ultimate street photographer because he just collects all of these people that are wearing similar stuff and puts them into grids, but they're really fantastic. But he stands here, he uses a Ricoh with a remote control and just photographs. And he's often here. Super nice guy.
Amsterdam, I love you.
Amsterdam loves you. Where are you from?
Italy.
Italy, nice. London.
Napoli.
Yeah, cool, man. So this is another good place. Like, I stand here a lot and just, it's not that busy yet, but like I just wait. And like at about 1 o'clock, it's a wave of people. I kind of find it like a meditation. You don't have to move much, you don't have to chase it just comes to you.
That older wisdom coming out.
Yeah, exactly. Old guy that doesn't want to walk too much. I mean, that's one of the things I've also realized is you kind of got to sniff out the places that are going to provide. I do that everywhere I go. I do busy walks the first few days, like really kill it on the walking just to find out the right time, the right light. And I ask lots of people, I was like, oh, where'd you go? Where'd you shoot? Where'd you go? Where'd you shoot? I did that with Sydney and Melbourne. Like, I had to kind of crowdfund to find out good places to go and shoot because you don't want to just turn up and hit the streets without knowing where's fruitful.
Is there a community of street photographers that you know here in Amsterdam?
Yeah, there is. When I first arrived, I kind of reached out to a bunch of them. There's a guy called Baz, who's cool. He takes kind of flash pictures on the street. There's Julie Hadova. She does street repeat, and she's out and about in Amsterdam. And this guy Hans van der Meer, who's kind of a legend. You should check out his work. He did a whole series of amateur soccer games, and they're fantastic, like really brilliant work. He shot it all on a 6.9 Fuji with a tripod, and he'd go to the game, find the right view first, and then wait for the action to come into the camera. And he's another one of Martin Parr's discoveries. Super nice guy. But before he did the football stuff, he used to photograph in Hungary on the street in black and white, and he's got some really brilliant, like delicate pictures from Hungary, just like micro moments, touches and how people interact with each other. So yeah, there's definitely a bunch of, there's a really good community here, and the galleries here are really kind, and they're sort of welcoming. So yeah, I think and also like, not being funny, but the Dutch photographers are really, really good. Like per capita, they're like really good. So it's inspiring. It's inspiring to live here.
You ever miss like the everyday 20, 30,000 step days in London where you just roll out and the eclecticness that you have there?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we made this move mainly for like my kids, and like the school system here is better, and like we have to change, we have to move on, and I travel more to do projects. And I'd done London by 2016. I'd done it. Like I'd done the book. I would have just been playing the same record. I mean, one of my best friends and big inspirations is Trent Park, and he did his street stuff, then he did his Christmas stuff, then he did his underwater stuff, and then he did his sunset stuff. He chops and changes, and I think in order to stay fresh, you do need to chop and change. I would kind of be mortified to find myself still walking up and down Oxford Street 30 years down the line. Like, that's the problem.
You've been in this 30 years. What's recently been something you've seen that's kind of reinvigorated this love for the game?
A little bit like you. I mean, I find old work inspiring. There's a guy called Hans Arsman who did a trip around the Netherlands in the late 80s in a camper van and kind of made amazing work on 5x4. I mean, I'm a big fan of Jeff Mermelstein's work. He's got a new book just out. I'm interested to see that. And less so some of the Magnum stuff. I mean, initially I was blown away by it, but you realize a lot of it's a little bit old, or at least the people that I admired initially. I tell you what, I actually think Alex Webb is still doing great work. I think he's about to do a book on America, which will be really good. And Trent, I mean, I keep on saying Trent, but Trent rocks. Yeah.
Who do you think is going to be seen in 50 years as like the street photographers that really defined this generation?
I actually think Brian Carlson is pretty good, and if he's super young, he's about 12, and so he's already like shooting amazing photographs. And if he continues with the same enthusiasm and he keeps getting the same type of pictures, he'd be I don't want to say great because give him a big head, but he'd be really good. I also Adlai Shell. It's slightly different. I don't know whether he would call himself a street photographer, but he's really good as well. And he's about 13. So those two make great work. And in New York, I mean, I love what Melissa is doing, Melissa O'Shaughnessy, and I don't know. There will be, especially with New York, there will just be this kind of trickle of, who was there at this time and who was there at that time and who was there at this time, and it's a sort of lineage of New York photography. That will be the history of street photography in New York. It will just be who was there, who did it well. But yeah, I don't know. There's so many people on the internet nowadays. It's difficult to pull them out of my head. But anyone else who's really going to stick around? Did I mention Trent? Oh shit, I did mention Trent.
You had briefly mentioned Magnum.
Yeah.
You were part of Magnum at one point.
Yeah, I was a nominee for a couple of years, and I got voted in by one vote and voted out probably by one vote. And but I had a fun time and worked my arse off. Enjoyed it. Met all my heroes, which is not necessarily something I would recommend. But yeah, no, I had a great time. I got to look at Koudelka's contact sheets, which are amazing, and traveled the world, did lots of different assignments, and made a book out of it. No regrets on that front. This is cute, look. And a friend of mine, Mark Power, suggested I apply, and I'd never thought of applying. So I sent in my application of my new book, which was the work that I'd taken in London, and I just scraped in. Half of them really liked it and half of them didn't. Thankfully, the half that liked it was the kind of street photography crew in Magnum. Yeah, it was a dream, but also kind of a nightmare. But more of a dream than anything. Yeah, it was a kind of a whirlwind. But I do remember being told, like, quite early on, it's like, you only just got in and you have to now you get in 50-50. And to get further, it's going to be 65. You need to get 65. And it's highly unlikely that other 50 are going to, like, turn. To be a nominee, you have to get in on 50%. And then an associate is 65%. And then a full member, I think, is, I don't know what it is, probably about the same. I have no idea. I didn't get that far. But yeah, it's a complicated system, and and it's very political as well, to be absolutely honest. I made the big mistake of trying to get as much work as possible whilst I was in Magnum, because I thought that would be beneficial to the company. And but that was actually a really bad idea as a nominee, because you should let all of the people who are full members get the work. Otherwise, they don't like you. So I made a few mistakes along, but I'm just me. I wanted to help out, I'm not going to play the frickin' game. So I just did what I did, and it was fun. It was fun while it lasted. This, by the way, this is New Amsterdam, and this building is where I believe that they came up with the name New York. Okay, so that's the one right there. That's where New York started. Now it's a cafe, a restaurant. And this is Amsterdam's 750th year. You see up here? So it's been a city for 750 years, which that's pretty impressive.
I'm talking about Magnum, but like there was another famous collective that you were part of for a while in public.
Yep, so that was like a website that was started in 2000. It was started by Nick Turpin, and he got a friend, David Gibson, and they kind of set up this collective. Then I was asked to join along with my friend Richard Bram. And basically then we sort of went around trying to find other people, like-minded people, to join the club. That was quite invigorating and inspiring for a certain amount of time. Then it all kind of collapsed because we all fell out. But I think that happens with these, especially with websites and, stupid things. People fall out and someone owns the domain and blah, 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 and stomps off. But it was inspiring for a while. We did exhibitions, did shows, made, magazines and made books and all the stuff that you're supposed to do. So at the moment I'm a part of a collective called Up, which was basically in public -2. And we don't really do anything. We just, whenever we are in town, we all hang out and hook up and meet each other, go for a beer, but we're not trying to do too much, and it kind of works pretty well that way.
Matt, did you have any mentors throughout your career?
When I started out and worked for the photographer, his name was Marcus Lyon. He was a mentor, and he took me on, and I was rubbish, He didn't need to take me on. So that was kind of cool. He gave me a footstep into photography, taught me lots of things. I made every mistake in the book, and he was always pretty cool about that. Whenever I fucked something up, he would always kind of take it on as we fucked it up, not I fucked it up, not you fucked it up. And that was really refreshing and grown up. But then, moving forward, I definitely had a mentor in Joel Meyerowitz. I got an email out of the blue way back from him saying that he'd seen my work and that he liked it, and did I want to meet up? How crazy is that? To get an email from one of your heroes, and he wanted to get to know me. Of course, Jesus Christ. So he's always been a mentor and very kind, but also gave good advice. I remember getting a commercial job and was worried that I was kind of selling out. And I told Joel, I don't know if I should do this, and he's like, do it. If you don't do it, someone else is going to do it. Don't worry. It's going to be on YouTube for about 2 days. Yeah, so he's always given like fatherly advice and maximum encouragement. Like I would send him photographs and he would say which ones he liked and which ones he didn't. And he would, always be a big promoter of me. And from the learning from Joel, I've always tried to do the same. Always tried to encourage others and be generous. And so, yeah, he definitely has been a big mentor. And then I would say, actually, this sounds like one big name drop, but I'd also say Martin Parr has been a really good mentor to me, and he's made me feel, I don't know, special. And he's also like straight down the line. Like if he likes it, he likes it. If he doesn't like it, he doesn't like it, and he'd tell you that. And I like that. I don't want bullshit. And Martin's always been a straight talker, but also extremely, again, maybe this is the thing that I like about these two men, is that they're encouraging and they're generous. And so yeah, definitely Martin Parr. And I mean, amongst others, but those two pretty good to have in your back pocket.
With somebody who's seeking mentorship, seeking a mentor, how should somebody go about that?
I think you have to reach out. You have to be dogged. Also, you have to do the work. I know it sounds so like simple, but if you've not got anything to show apart from that you're really enthusiastic, it's not enough. You do need to kind of be able to chuck something down and for someone to look at it and give you advice.
And honestly, having a site is still the best and easiest way to present that body of work. If you're a photographer, a creator, an artist, or anybody who makes things, having a solid place where your work lives still matters. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform that makes it easy to build a professional website without any friction. You can share your work, you can customize how things look, and you're able to keep everything organized in one place. It works well whether you're building a portfolio, you're setting up your online store to sell zines, prints, or merchandise, or if you just want to create a home base for what you're making. Having site management, being able to process credit cards, handle all of your SEO all in one place, it makes everything so much simpler. So you spend less of your energy focused on site management and spend more of your energy on being a creative person. Because at the end of the day, it's about having something that represents your work well and doesn't get in the way of actually making it. So get your 14-day free trial by going to squarespace.com/PaulieB and also get 10% off of your first purchase. All right, let's get back to Matt and the rest of his thoughts on finding a mentor.
But I mean, I think the main thing that I've learned, Paulie, from this whole thing is like, you have to be totally in it. You have to be doing it 24/7. There's no shortcut. It's a cliche, but there's no shortcut. You just have to work. And I think that's one of the things that people find frustrating. And that's maybe why, you have the 5-year drop off, is that, you do it for 5 years and you look back at what you've got, and you've got like 25 decent photographs and you're like, oh, it's not enough. I should have, had 100 pictures by now. And they quit. Alex Webb said it's like 99% failure, and that's being generous.
I think most people have trouble of like, you can't make money from this, but you have to be out all the time.
Yep.
And some people have families with the job and have to do this, 5-8 hours a day.
You look at Gus Powell, who again is another friend and someone who I very much respect. When he initially started out, he was working at the New Yorker magazine, and he would only have time during his lunch break. So he would go out during his lunch break, which is an hour and a half maximum. And that's when he would take his pictures. Completely at the wrong time of day, when the light is completely shit, he would go out and see what he could get and just work with a focus during that hour. Back to constraints, another constraint. He gave himself a constraint, and then he worked so hard during that 1 hour. He's a really interesting photographer and someone who thinks cleverly and gives himself interesting projects. Family Car Trouble. Have you heard of his book, Family Car Trouble? It's a book about his family, his dad dying and his daughters growing up. And it's about his Volvo car breaking down. And the Volvo is kind of a metaphor for life. And it's a really wonderful book. Really, really well thought out, well photographed.
Speaking of books, you have a couple of books out.
Yep.
right?
Yep.
All That Life Can Afford. And there's more of like a educational book.
Yep.
Think like a street photographer. A lot of people obviously have ambitions to make books. How did you come down with the idea for that first book? Talk about that process of making that book.
Okay, so that was 12 years photographing on the streets of London with no constraints. 50 pictures. And even then I look at the book now and it's like, it's 50-50. There's 50% that I like and there's 50% that are okay. No constraints, walking out of my door and hoping. And I did that from, 2004 to 2016. Eventually, you got to make a book, dude. Otherwise this is just a bit weird. You're kind of like just wandering around the streets every day. I got some small prints done, 6x4s, and I took them to Thames and Hudson. They were going to give me a book deal, and then they assigned me a designer, Stuart Smith, and then he kind of, in the nicest possible way, kind of directed me slightly away from a big publisher and more towards maybe publishing it myself. I remember him saying like three things. Can you choose the paper? Can you choose the printer? Can you be on press? And I remember asking those 3 questions and they were all like negatory, good buddy, negatory, good buddy, negatory, good buddy. And he said, you're making a book. Do you want to be involved in the book or do you want to like send it off? So I edited the book with Stuart over a 2-year period, me with like ADHD brain, no focus, and him, very funny guy. So we would just like sit around and joke and get nothing done for 2 years. And anyway, eventually we came up with an edit. We went to Italy, got it printed in Italy, at EBS, great printer. They, print for Salgado and blah, blah, blah. Got to choose the paper, smell the ink. That was the other thing, smell the ink. Can you smell the ink? I smelled the ink. And I printed 1,000 books. They were sold before they were printed, the 1,000. So that was crazy. And then I sent them all out myself. And then I printed it again and again and again. And actually like made kind of pretty good money from doing that, which I don't think I would have had I given it to a big publisher to print. I think you make around 30 grand from a run of 1,000 books. So you can do the sums, pretty good. It took almost 2 years to come up with the title. It comes from a quote, a famous quote from Samuel Johnson, who was the first man to put a dictionary together. And it's just basically, anyone that leaves London is, tired of life. And the end part of that quote was, because there is in London all that life can afford. And it's kind of true. London's a pretty great city and there is all that life can afford in London. Stuart said, the title is really important. Thames and Hudson said you can't have London in the title. Thought that was interesting. You can't have like the name of the place in the title because it just becomes a kind of travel book. That was a great learning experience. And then during the COVID pandemic, I was approached by Lawrence King to write a sort of teaching book on street photography. And I had nothing else to do because, we were all bored. So I spent a couple of years doing that, and actually it was great to have that time because I put in more effort. And it's become very popular. It sold a lot of copies. I signed a shit contract with that as well.
That's big. That was a big publisher.
Big publisher, yeah. But it's been good, and I get a lot of messages every day. People have bought it. People are inspired by it.
That one came out in 2021,
22, yeah, 21, 22. Yeah, I feel good about it. I'm not a big fan of the title, but they needed street photographer in the title in order for it to come up on Amazon and Google searches. So go figure. And it's out there and it's been selling really, 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 really well. And then after that, I did Reclaim the Street, which was a big book on everyone else. Kind of compendium of people from all over the world. That was kind of fun, finding photographers, making sure there was people represented from most places. It wasn't just, white guys with Leicas. And yeah, it turned out pretty good. It sold out and they're going to republish it next year.
Earlier you talked about working on projects to keep you kind of going.
Yeah.
When do those projects turn into a book?
Some things don't get that far. So, some things, you have the big idea and you get all enthusiastic about it and you go out, and I definitely think it's important to have multiple projects. At Magnum, Christina de Middel, she has like 5 or 6 projects going on at the same time. So she's spinning multiple plates in order to stay fresh, you know, and when one gets boring, you spin another plate and go and do that, go and do that. So at the moment I have my LA project, which is once a year for a couple of weeks. I have a project in the Netherlands, which I can do at any time. I often think it's important to try and find projects that you can accomplish close to home because they're accessible. You know, having a project in Mexico that you can only do like once a year for 1 week, that's kind of tricky. And it's not gonna keep you fresh as a photographer.
When you look at all the books that are kind of being put out, do you feel like it's kind of becoming too saturated?
If I was to think of the great street photography books that are reasonably contemporary, I would say Jeff Mermelstein's Sidewalk is a great New York book. Like, I haven't seen a better New York book than that for a long time. And that was shot in the, you know, like early 90s. I haven't seen Aaron Berger's book. I'm a huge fan of his work. And I think he really worked crazy hard, like insane. He's an obsessive and a nut job, but a very nice one. I remember I was out with Matt Weber and Christopher Gu, God rest his soul, and we were in New York, like on 6th Avenue, and I was standing with them both, and on the opposite side of the street, you know, kind of 6th Avenue's a fair stretch on the other side of the street. I was like, look. And there was nothing happening. And then this girl just dropped into the splits. And they were like, whoa. But they had the same experiences. You know, they like figured that something was going to happen. I love that about photography, that just the weirdness of it and unpredictability of it. That's something that keeps me coming back, for sure. So let's walk down here. There's a bunch of bars down here that are kind of interesting. It's where the really like hardcore people drink. This is Ed van der Elsken territory. So Ed van der Elsken was like probably the most famous Dutch photographer. He was a street photographer, amongst other things. And this is one of the places that he would hang out. And he'd get the weird and the wonderful in the like 1970s. Really amazing work. This is a really famous bar where they like dance on the bar. This is big. If you want a good time, look, check it out. If you want a good time in Amsterdam, you go to Café Nol. You get covered in beer.
I wonder if there's any photo projects about like the red light district.
Yeah, there's a book that's just been published by Dina Luxemburg. It is on that area, but it's mainly portraits. It's not just prostitutes, it's people from the area. So it's a kind of an all-round overview, and she's been doing it for 4 or 5 years, and she's an amazing photographer. I mean, Dina Luxemburg.
She did Watts, right? She did the Watts,
yeah. I think it's a very difficult subject to photograph, and a lot of prostitutes and pimps are not into having their photograph taken. So you have to approach it really carefully.
What would you say the best time to visit Amsterdam?
Definitely spring, I would say. Yeah, the light's good, busier on the streets. I mean, to be absolutely honest, you know, it's not that busy right now. This is a, you know, Monday, and people are just waking up. And also, I mean, the great thing about living here is that we have access to the whole of Europe. You know, I can get on a train, go to France, go to Berlin, go to, you know, can even go to bloody Italy. It's totally different to living in England, where you're basically living on an island, especially after, I mean, Brexit, Jesus Christ. I'm lucky I have a temporary residence card, which means that I can go to the front of the queue at the passports. And I see all these English people in the big, long other passport queue. I'm like, oh my God. And it adds like an hour to their journey. You just think, what a ridiculous thing to have done.
Who's on your Mount Rushmore of street photography?
My Mount Rushmore?
Yeah.
Well, geez Louise. Gary Winogrand, because he was obsessed. He lived during the most photographic period ever. You know, everything looked good. He lived in New York and he was a beast. And he had an amazing sensibility for, you know, gesture and characters and combinations, and he did it sort of more than anyone ever did it. And not to just keep it totally in New York, but Helen Levitt, like incredible color photographer and black and white photographer, could do both. Now I've got to try and take it out of New York. I guess, probably Henri Cartier-Bresson. Sorry to be boring, but picture of me, picture of you, picture. But, you know, he was insanely good and had the privilege to travel the world, you know, at an amazing time in history, had a long career and had a fantastic sense of composition. But also, I mean, the thing with Bresson, because he had that access to everywhere, because he came from one of the richest families in France, sort of historically super interesting. You could, you know, be at the funeral of Gandhi, you could be in China before anyone was in China photographing, and you know, he had such amazing access. So yeah, Bresson. Like, as far as people who have influenced me, I would have to then make Mount Rushmore like a five, not a 4. When Jeff's book came out, when Sidewalk came out, I was kind of like pretty like dumbfounded. And when I discovered Trent's book, Dream Life, I was pretty dumbfounded. So both of those together, like sitting on each other's lap. But yeah, that would be my Mount Rushmore. This is the coolest place to drink in Amsterdam, I reckon. De Pels. Like journalists, writers, creative people go and have a beer in there. And it's like midday here right now and it's full. Good spot.
That's a big advent calendar.
It really is.
That's crazy.
I'm not going to chase it. I'm not chasing it.
Would like Matt from 10 years ago chase that?
Matt from 10 years ago would chase anything. And often from the chase of the thing, something else would happen. And then you get like the kind of, there may be the miracle. But generally the chase is just exercise. Matt from 10 years ago was very excitable and would do crazy shit. And this Matt 2.0, is way calmer. And that's a good thing for most people.
Do you ever try to reinvigorate that?
Yep, I can. I call it fake it to make it. And like I get up in the morning and go like, "Whoa," you know, it's a wonderful world. But that involves giving yourself adrenaline, like pushing adrenaline through yourself. I don't know how healthy that is, especially as I get older. So I tend to be more chill and I'm less exciting. I'm less of a good night out, but I'm probably calmer and more fun to be with in general, long term.
We talked about your accomplishments at the books, Magnum, Up, In Public. You were a part of that Gary Winogrand documentary.
Oh yeah.
The All Things Are Photographable.
One of the things I love about Winogrand is the dance. If you look at a Winogrand picture, in a lot of the photographs, he gets the legs. Look at the dance here. Look at the dance here. Dancing. Everyone's dancing.
30 years in, what are you most proud of?
Well, easy one would be to say the book, but probably most proud of like the friendships and the relationships I've made with people. You know, without photography, I wouldn't have made those connections, wouldn't have met those people, wouldn't have gone to those places. I have a bunch of friends all over the world that are important to me and are real close. And that would be my biggest accomplishment, I'd say. I have a kind of global friendship network, closely followed by the book. All the other stuff, the collectives and the, you know, cooperatives and the blah blah, they way down the line. Let's go. I'll take you to this bookshop. Okay. Color stuff is better, I think. But this is old. But he's like, this is Ed van der Elsken. So it's all Amsterdam.
Keep looking through that. Whoa. Well, come get them. How's that feel? Does that feel crazy seeing that? Or are you used to it?
No, PTSD.
Is there anything you preemptively want to say to the inevitable comment of, he didn't even take that many photos?
Today?
Yeah.
I can't multitask. No, I'll take some pictures, but there wasn't that much to photograph today. Sometimes I go out and I kind of go out on patrol, making sure that nothing is happening. And I come back and, you know, my partner will say like, you know, what happened? And I say like, nothing. But yeah, I mean, this is a Monday morning on a cold, rainy Amsterdam day. Far more interested in speaking to Paulie than taking pictures. But let's give it a go. We'll give it a go. Yeah, I tend to stand and wait for them to come to me. Old man style. Matt V 1.0, walk a lot. Matt 2.0, stand still a lot.
20, 30,000 steps a day was like London Matt, right?
Yeah. 500 steps a day, Amsterdam Matt.
500s.
I think one of the most difficult things with street photography in the winter is that everyone just starts wearing black. And it's just not as juicy as during the summer when everyone wears color and, you know, all I'm seeing here at the moment is black, which is why I should probably be photographing in black and white during the winter, color in the summer. Maybe that's an idea. Battery's flat.
Roll change.
Roll change. Digital roll change.
You ever think about going back to film?
If I was a millionaire, just the way I shoot was too crazy. Like I shot, like too much.
How many rolls a year would you estimate you shot?
Pretty cool. I would say 70 rolls a week.
That's a lot.
It's not good. It was too much. And I would just get excited by stuff and just get into the whole pattern of taking too many pictures. Addict. I was a film addict. At least with digital, it doesn't cost. I mean, the cameras cost a lot, but I can shoot as much as I like. I mean, one of these actually is kind of cheap when you think about that quantity of film. Anyway, let me concentrate.
Matt, finish sentence. I take photos because.
I take photos because it makes me happy. And that's all.
All right, that's gonna do it for this episode of Walkie Talkie. Matt, thanks for hanging out with me today.
It's a pleasure, Paulie. Real pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine. Let the people know where they can show you some love.
Thanks for coming all the way to Amsterdam. I mean, like, respect.
Of course.
Really appreciate it.
Where can people show you some love?
People can show me some love at my Instagram, which is mattu1, M-A-T-T-U-1. And they can show me some love if they see me in the street. Come over and say hi, talk. You know, it's nice to make connections. There's nowhere else I want to meet anyone apart from out in the street.
Great.
Thanks so much, man.
All right. See
Take
ya.
care.
Now when they see us in the streets, all they wanna do is take